Do
you like Gary?
Yeah, I guess. Like, the dumber it is, the more I like it. That's why I like my name on all.
Get a question. What is the best deck of Modern right now? Are we on the KCI train? So the best deck of Modern right now is not
whatever,
a deck.
It's whatever Matt Nass plays.
Yes, it is Matt Nass.
The best deck in Modern is Matt Nass.
You mentioned earlier that Magic is sexy. I feel like...
Dude, he was streaming the other night. I actually enjoy him, too, just because... He seems to be always the same type of person.
Yeah, I feel like in his ability to meet us, Matt Nass is very sexy.
Okay. All right, can we...
Billy, if you're tuning in, let us know how you feel about Matt Nass and his decks.
I think it's great. The best deck in Modern, I don't think there's a best deck right now. I think KCI is very strong. I think you have to be a tremendously strong Magic player to play Jeskai. Yes. I mean, to play KCI.
The people who do well with it was Matt Nass, Andrew Backstrom, I think, both of which work at Direwolf Digital. And Eli Cassis, who was a very skilled Magic player as well.
Very calm and collected all the time too. I don't think he has emotions.
No.
Ilya has that eye of the tiger the entire time.
But I feel like again the best deck in Modern.
Okay, David is our player. With the internet and the ability of deck composition to be shared easily, as well as the ease of purchasing individual cards, where's the strategy and deck building aspect of the game? That lies with the people that. So it's very hard to create a brand new archetype and have success with it.
Unless your name is Todd Stevens.
And then you just bore people to death. So it depends what your definition is. Do you expect somebody to show up with a new 75 cards? The only time that really happens is at Star City, at the advent of new standard formats. That's not going to happen in Modern very often. You see some brews that 5-0 Modern leagues that get some traction, end up being like flash to pan, such as Mono Blue Living End.
We see it every now and then in Modern when the meta is right for it. Humans originally was preying on Storm everywhere, and it turns out it's just pretty good.
It's more like I'm changing the numbers of different types of Lilianas in my Jund deck, or I'm playing 2 Maelstrom Pulses.
Yes,
that's a strategy aspect of the game.
And if you get really deep into that, there's a lot of strategy.
Sideboarding also, what you're expecting. It's hard to metagame in Modern unless you're at the top tables and know what the top people play. If you're in the middling or the lower tables, you could literally play against anything.
Yeah. I want to pull up quickly.
Is this a loaded question? Are we? Because I see this in Facebook groups all the time. People that get very furious about net decking, and to be quite honest, I don't care. If play whatever you like. Show up and play your brew. Show up and play the exact same 75 that won the GP the week before. I don't care. Like, it's your money. Do whatever you want. Whatever makes you have fun. Most of us that work 9-to-5 jobs and still want to try to play Magic, or especially the people that work 9-to-5 jobs and want to play competitive Magic, there's just not enough time in the day to do all the testing. The players that do this professionally are so much better than the average person or the rest of us are. It's just not even funny.
And people
let them do the work for you.
People will still try to do the work. We saw the blue-green Karn deck at the Pro Tour do.
Yeah, but those are also pros.
Yeah, they are pros.
Same pros. Caleb Durward's made a couple decks. Conley Wood's made a couple decks. Those just come to mind.
I want to take a look quickly at
show up on people with whatever you want, but don't hate because you lose your net deck. I just don't. To me, I've never cared. I just don't like to lose.
Yeah, there is a local player here who
you can make a deck that's going to hose any sort of deck, right? If I show up and I'm playing 35 copies of Doomblade, I'm probably going to be able to beat the Humans deck.
There's a local player here who is very adamant that their brew should be better than net decks. But the ironic thing about that is their deck was 1000% talked about on the internet.
What is their deck?
Cyberlinks.
To me, it's like writing at this point. There's not a whole lot of new. Not a whole lot of new ideas. There's only so much design space in Modern. With older formats, you can get into it. But yeah, especially that people don't. If you lose to a net deck, who cares? Yeah. Just let it go. Like, or if your net deck loses and then you get mad because somebody's playing a tier deck, again, you had both of you had the choice to show up with what you show up with tonight, right? I could have showed up with a net deck, or I could have brewed my own deck.
Exactly. Meanwhile, in the board game itself, we have a Resolve Phyrexian Unlight for David, which means that he can lose life. Any combat damage below 0 will result in some infect counters.
So I think David's just waiting for Zach to pull the trigger on some things here. So what's Zach's at this point? He's not going to be able to do enough damage.
I hope David does not have a counterspell for the cryptic command as it attempts to bounce.
And that's what I put him on also, right? At some point, but there's not any point to doing it right now, right? I'm going to wait to bounce that Phyrexian Unlife until the last possible second. So here's an example of a hate card being printed during the block that was introduced.
Yeah, I want to point out that I made it a little bit ever on life, all damage, not just combat damage, so all damage. So
yeah,
and it's lots of life count as damage though, because that's the trick here. Because ad nauseum, you're paying in life.
No.
Yeah. So
that's why the combo works.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, ad nauseum lets you.
Bring up ad nauseum.
Let's bring it up as David is attempting to resolve it.
It looks like Zach's only permission here is he has a logic knot. So if I'm him, how much can he pay? He can pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He can pay quite a bit.
And he might have more mana in his hand.
So here's ad nauseum. The instant from shards. Reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. Normally it's, whatever, I want to pay life till I lose life. But with Phyrexian Unlife, you do not lose a game for at 0 or less life, which means you can pay as much life as you humanly want.
So David could actually pay it for 7. I don't understand why he is not going for the whole kit and caboodle here. Zach needs to logic knot this.
Does Zach have something else up his sleeve?
No, he doesn't. So Ernby says, so how it works, you keep losing life, but don't get counters. That's correct.
Correct, yes. Because it's damage, not loss of life.
So how unlife works is it waits to check and see if you have to get to 0 first.
Yes.
Right? When regular damage, I played with elves a bunch. Yes, he has more mana in his hand. So Zach should have just done it for the whole boat. And he could have also just paid for this because he still has 1 counter left.
Yeah. So David draws his entire deck. He's going to get a card called Lightning Storm. He's going to cast Lightning Storm and deal damage equal to the amount of lands he discards from his hand.
So here's a good point. Just have David kill you, Zach. If you're not sure, just have David kill you.
Yeah.
I would just have David kill him if I'm not sure.
Yeah. And of course, the other way to make sure you don't lose ad nauseum is Angel's Grace, which is a split-second instant. You do not lose the game.
Correct. Yeah. So normal damage, like I'd play with elves and I'd get you like. I'd be like 150 damage, but you still go to 0 because you have to go to 0 first, and then the next turn, then I can kill you with Infect. It's not all at the same time either. So there's a couple interactions there that are interesting.
Yeah. If you're on 1 and there's attack for 20, you get a negative 19 life and 0 poison counters. I believe that is correct.
You have to go to 0 first, too.
Yeah, you have to get to 0 first, and then you get the poison counters, right?
Yep. That's correct.
So we had another comment regarding the net decking. Shard saying that I guess it's where draft games and come in. It produces a more spontaneous form for play where the best decks can't just be copied and bought. That is true.
Right, but Magic Limit tournaments also get the worst viewership by far and away.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a big push from the Pro Tour of highlighting certain decks and archetypes that you can play during your draft. To counter that, though, I'm going to read off the top decks of Grand Prix Pittsburgh. So no surprise in some of these decks. Mono red aggro, blue black mid range, black red aggro, white blue gift, blue black control, Esper control, white blue aggro. That's 7 different decks in the top 7. After that we have black red aggro again, and 9th blue white walkers. Let's see if this is actually different. Yes, it is. It is blue white walkers featuring 3 Gideon, 4 Karn, 4 Teferi. After that we have Esper control. Then we have Abzan Sagas featuring History Benalia, Thopter Arrest, the four copies of the Eldest Reborn.
Card is hotness. It gets back Planeswalkers.
This came in 12th place at a Grand Prix. We have another Mono Red. We have 2 Wizard decks, Esper Control, then some Black-Brain Snake, Black-Brain Midrange. That was a Planeswalker deck from Kazu Negri. This deck had 2 Karn, 2 Lily, 2 Vraskas, 2 mainboard treasure maps, 3 copies of Never Return, 4 mainboard Hour Promises. So, on the one hand, the top tables will most commonly see Chain Whirler, Blue-Black, Control, but there's still clearly plenty of room for innovation post-Pro Tour. I mean, do you remember Worlds during con season?
No.
Do you remember the breakout deck during that?
Yeah.
Jeskai Tokens.
Okay.
Do you remember how good Jeskai Tokens was?
No, I don't.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was. I love Siege Rhino. I played Jeskai Tokens over Siege Rhino as long as I humanly could.
What was in Jeskai Tokens?
Jeskai Tokens was a work of art. It was based around Jeskai Ascendancy. And it ran just a bunch of different token producers. Let's pull it up here. Here's the deck list. Your only creatures are 4 copies of Goblin Rabblemaster and 4 copies of Secret of the Way. You have 2 Chandra Pyromancers. Thanks for tuning in, Goober. We missed you, buddy. So here are your spells. 4 Jeskai Ascendancy, 4 Hordeling Outburst, 4 Raise the Alarm, 2 Jeskai Charm, 4 Stoke to Flames, 4 Treasure Cruise. Our streamer is showing us an article from LSV saying the 5 worst decks I ever played. Number 5 is Jeskai Tokens. That is wrong. Jeskai Tokens was an absolutely amazing deck to where you could look at your opponent and go, what are you at, 20? Okay, you're dead. Just because the way everything worked between the synergy of token producers and the convoke spells and this Jeskai Ascendancy itself and Treasure Cruise, it was just this work of art that was not discovered until very late in a standard format in December, well after a Pro Tour, where everyone in that format was claiming about how Siege Rhino was just this dominant factor, when in reality Siege Rhino was not dominant. There are plenty of other viable strategies out there between the Jeskai aggro deck, between the CDC whip decks, and eventually Jeskai Tokens. So more often than not, especially with standard, the format will look solved and coming off lots of bans to where Team Energy was really strong and was more often than not there's the best deck, period. And Aetherworks Marvel. Yeah, those decks was not a brewer's paradise. It was just you pick the best deck and you play it, and more often than not you got there. But again, there's still, I mean, even going back to previous that during Kaladesh standard, everyone was all about vehicles. Then everyone was all about bringing back Delirium. Then everyone was all about the Naya Aetherworks Marvel deck, where you can very easily hardcast Emrakul in that deck based on all the different types of permanents you played. So, no, this was a Naya Aetherworks Marvel deck that ran Nihiri as a permanent type, to where if you drew something that you didn't want in your hand, you just Nihiri'd it. It was that was the deck that won the December Invitational in Atlanta by Jacob Baugh, and most of his team was on that deck actually. But yeah, on the surface, it does look like there's plenty of times where just, especially in standard, where the best deck is just the best deck, but there's still plenty of room for innovation out there, and especially in standard, to where a lot of your card choices in the main board and sideboards are going to flip certain matchups, especially in this rock paper scissors thing we have now. So we have the control decks, the Chamber of the decks, and the Golf Heroes gift decks. If you ignore one of those decks on a given weekend, is going to destroy you. And that's where some of the strategy and deck building comes into play. Not necessarily the main board, but your deck isn't just 60 cards. Your deck, when you construct it, is 75 cards in total. And
it's interesting because it's much different than Modern. Because in Modern, the breadth of decks you're going to play is way too wide. So you're just going to lose some matchups. You're going to have bad matchups, and you try to mitigate that with your sideboard. But you're not going to have sideboard cards for everything.
No.
So people shuffle up and say, they jokingly say, okay, I'm just going to shuffle up and play the 60 again, and that's actually true.
The day I got better to Modern, playing the old Epson Company decks, was the day I said, I can't beat Tron, so I don't care about putting cards in here for Tron. And I just got better because I stopped caring about certain matchups.
Yeah, sometimes you're just going to lose.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a fairly boring start. David has not resolved the spell.
He also does not have a Loath's Boom going.
No, this is a really interesting start here from David.
I'm not sure if this is a game that David could win very easily.
Here's a Vidillion Click, though.
Yeah, we saw this last week from David. Kind of atypical.
We have someone pledging their displeasure for Tron.
So, very good point by Zach there. If it didn't click, for those who don't know, it comes into play, then it targets a player.
Yes.
You can click yourself.
Yes, you can.
So don't just throw your hand on the table.
You want to make sure who Click is targeting.
Interesting. So it's going to start the Fairing next turn. Do I care if he Teferis? I probably care about the Wear Tear.
I care about the Wear Tear, absolutely.
Yeah. So on Magic Online on the Cube, I actually got to 25th in line last night.
He's got a Thoughtseize too for his Teferi, so he absolutely did not care about it.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize Teferi seems a lot better than Thoughtseizing.
Right. There's no reason to respond with anything here.
No.
I think he's thinking about bolting. He's not going to take the bolt. I don't understand doing that. Who takes a Dispel? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why I said I'm not sure he cares about a Teferi is because you're going to almost kill your Teferi just to tuck his Ad Nauseum. I mean, his Phyrexian on life.
But he can't.
Is that really what you want to do with your mana? Because he could still win, regardless. The next turn, you don't need that card to win. You have to. You can just have Angel's Grace.
He's just gonna pass. He drew in the gate. Really surprised then he didn't play Tahiri to Fairy plus it and pass. Do you think that would have telegraphed that he drew something if he did that? Well, it didn't matter because David had the Pact of Negation, and so we talked about these super haste cards, and that's something that David is absolutely super hasty in because the Pact of Negation, you do have to pay for it on the next turn, but in this case, David doesn't have a next turn because David just flat up wins the matchup.
When Modern was first a thing, that was a deck was actually what is the where both players cast the spell?
Hive Mind.
Hive Mind was a thing. So you just play packs. You play packs you can't pay for anyways.
Yeah, it was the Amulet Titan decks. Had the backup Hive Mind.
Do you guys remember an infinite copy spell using the card Mirari? I forget the combo. Is it legal? Mirari's not legal in Modern.
No.
Yeah.
Well, wait. Actually, was it time shifted?
I don't know.
I think it was time shifted. It was originally in Odyssey. It was actually the Odyssey set symbol, and it was time shifted.
All right, we have it's time shifted for sure.
Yeah, so it is legal in Modern.
All right, well, I stand corrected.
Here it is, back from 2006. The Infinity Deck 2-red Mirari turn 1 kill infinite damage. Here's the deck we have. We have 16 Mountains, 4 Gemstone Cavern, 4 Gil Mages. Hive Mind is on the screen right now. 4 Empty the Warrens, 4 Grape Shot, 4 Reiterate. That's from Time Spiral. 4 Miraris. 4. No. Vital Flame is not Modern Legal.
Hey, Justin, what's Paul playing tonight?
4 Vital Flame, 4 Seething Song, 4 Mishra Baubles, 4 Locket of Yesterday.
We might have an elf.